Hello, I'm Claire Smith, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to talk about my unicorn fragrances. What do I mean when I talk about a unicorn perfume? I mean a perfume that is really rare, and perhaps it wasn't at some point, but it's been discontinued. And I think when perfumes are discontinued, it prompts that feeling of one, FOMO, you feel like if you haven't tried it, you need to go try it. And two, it also prompts nostalgia. It makes people think about the times when they've been using that perfume and makes people want to retry and rediscover that perfume. I don't have that many unicorn fragrances in my collection, but the ones that I do have, I do feel like I hoard them. I feel like I don't use them as much as perhaps I ordinarily would, just because I know that I can't repurchase those fragrances. And that is really silly. That's something I'm really trying to change this year. I want to enjoy any fragrance that I've got in my collection and not hoard things, basically, because ultimately it takes you a long time to go through a fragrance, and I should just use them exactly as much as I want to use them and spray as much as I want to spray, not be mean with myself, basically. So these are some of my unicorn fragrances, and I would say the thing that prompted this video was a package from Annie Scents. So Annie Scents was very kind to send me a beautiful package of lots of samples, but she also sent me a unicorn fragrance. So I'm going to start with that one. She sent me this one, which is Eau de Star from Thierry Mugler. So this is when Mugler was still Thierry Mugler, before they were taken over by L'Oreal. So this is from 2007, this fragrance, which probably explains why I'd never heard of it. So this is a 25ml bottle of an eau de toilette formulation, and the bottle looks like this. But if you can look in there, can you see there's like a little dangly star floating around? It's very whimsical and very Mugler, that. So this is a flanker of Angel, and I can definitely tell that it's a flanker of Angel. It's got that patchouli thing going on, but it's definitely not as heavy on the patchouli as Angel is. So I have a vintage bottle of Angel as well. So here's my vintage bottle of Angel. So this is from 2011. So this is really, really heavy on patchouli and a little bit less friendly than the more modern formulation, I feel. So I'm going to spray both of these and do a bit of comparison. I must say that I wore both of these fragrances together yesterday, one on each arm, and my husband hated it. My husband said that I stank. So I guess he's not a patchouli fan. So I'd say this one is actually less sweet than Angel and also has less patchouli, but definitely the patchouli is a thing that I first get, which I find odd because I would have thought that patchouli would be a base of a fragrance, not really a top note. When it dries down, it becomes sweeter, so it becomes more like a honey watery honey kind of thing, not like a beeswax honey or like a fresh honey. It also gets more of that watermelon note. So the watermelon here is not like a fresh watermelon, it's more like a watermelon sweet, or a piece of roasted watermelon, something where the sugars have caramelized a little bit. I only really get a really faint vanilla in the dry down. The vanilla is really not that prominent, which surprises me given the colour of this fragrance. I do think this is pretty similar to Angel, but it's definitely fresher. It's got a real sort of summariness about it. For an eau de toilette, this is really long lasting, and yeah, I was quite shocked at how well this projected as well. So would I suggest that you go out and buy this if you see this somewhere? I think this depends very much on how much of a hardcore old school Angel fan you are. If you love Angel, then I think you would definitely love this too. And I think it's different enough to warrant buying it because it's really much fresher. It's definitely a summertime version of Angel to me. Would I suggest this for other people? Probably not. I don't think that most people would love this fragrance. When I first smelt this fragrance just out of the nozzle, this really, really reminded me of Calvin Klein's Reveal. But actually, I don't think they're that similar when I've sprayed this fragrance. I really don't think they have any more than a very passing resemblance. But yeah, I don't think this is one that I would run out and purchase. But I think, yeah, for hardcore Angel fans, maybe this one is for you. So that's Eau de Star by Thierry Mugler. So the next fragrance is more recent, and it's one that was sadly discontinued a couple of years ago, and people are really looking for this one. So this is one from Tom Ford, and it's Orchid Soleil. So this fragrance is actually a flanker of Black Orchid. Yeah, can you believe it? Orchid Soleil, a flanker of Black Orchid. Because to me, they smell nothing like each other. And this one really sticks out like a sore thumb, really, from the Black Orchid range. I really don't know why they made this a flanker. I've had it a while, and every time I spray it, it's been reminding me of something, and I've just not been able to place it. And I finally worked it out. It's mothballs. It smells of mothballs. And actually, I'm one of those weird people who love the smell of mothballs, so this is fine. But yeah, this one it's really quite a strange fragrance for me, because I feel like it's got a feeling of being in my dad's shed. So my dad's a farmer, and he grows wheat, and it's got that smell of when you've harvested wheat. It's got that kind of dustiness and the heat of the sun, and that kind of golden feeling about it. It's got that really hot summer's day, harvested wheat basically. I can't really explain it. If you're a farmer and you've been in a shed with some wheat, that is how this smells. So actually, in reality, it's not wheat, and it's not golden, and it's not whatever else I'm saying. It's really heavily based around lily, and that is why this fragrance is red. So if I spray this on my arm, I'll show you. The fragrance is literally red. So let me spray a bit here. Can you see how red that fragrance is there? You can see there. It's like literally orangey red. So you have to be really careful where you spray this, because you don't want to stain your clothes. But this one, it's heavily based on a lily fragrance. There's also chestnut in here, and you really, really, really smell the chestnut. I think that's what is giving me the mothball vibe, along with the white flowers in this. There's also tuberose, and I would say that those are the main notes: tuberose, lily, and the chestnut and the vanilla, really. It just is exactly how that sounds. It does smell like that. So you definitely get that warmth from the warmth and the woodiness from the chestnut, but also the sweetness from the vanilla. And that piercing white floralness. So it's not really so bubblegummy, this tuberose, but there definitely is a very sort of bursting white flower kind of feel to this fragrance. It really does feel very solar, but also it's something that I wouldn't want to wear in the height of summer. I do find this one quite heavy, as with most of the Black Orchid line, I feel. I feel for me this is more of an autumnal fragrance. It's something that I want to reach for when it's sort of still sunny but a little bit cooler. So yeah, I love this, but I can see why people might not, because it's quite a strange smell in the opening. The dry down is really the star of this fragrance, because you just get this creamy, delicious, chestnutty vanilla, and it's just, it's very sensual and nice, this fragrance in the dry down, but it just takes a bit of time to get there. It's one that's you only really need one spray of. It's really quite nuclear. It's really long lasting and really projects as well, as you might expect from this range. Would I suggest that you snap this one up? Depends how much you love mothballs, really. If you're a weirdo like me and you love mothballs and you love chestnuts, or if you like fragrances with other kind of heavy tuberose notes and heavy lily, then maybe try this one. But I think if you've not tried the Black Orchid range before, if you don't know how heavy those fragrances are, then I would perhaps stay away from this one. But yeah, I really do enjoy this one. So that's Tom Ford's Orchid Soleil. So the next fragrance is actually one that quite often is compared to Orchid Soleil, and that is Truth or Dare by Madonna. So I remember when I first got Orchid Soleil, because I had this one first, and I was really struck by the resemblance, but now that I've been wearing them more, I feel like I've seen more differences. So the main difference is this doesn't have chestnut. The chestnut really stands out in Orchid Soleil. And this to me is more of like a bubblegummy tuberose kind of fragrance. I know that's like a bit of a thing to say on YouTube, isn't it? Bubblegum tuberose. But this one really, really is. But I would say that the bubblegum tuberose is definitely something that also has sherbet in it. It's got that kind of fizzy feeling to it. It's a really sweet, fizzy feeling, and there's also some lily. You can just about detect the lily. So yeah, it's just a really zingy white floral fragrance basically. There's supposed to be vanilla in this, but I would say that I don't really get that far. You just kind of sense the white florals really. It's something that is really long lasting as well. It's really quite good projection, which I think is also what fed into the popularity of this fragrance. It's made me really want to search out Truth or Dare Naked, the one that is supposed to smell like a cola. Would I search this one out and pay lots of money for this fragrance? No, quite simply because I don't feel like it's me, but it might be you. If you really like tuberose, then you might want to try this one. So that's Truth or Dare by Madonna. So the next fragrance is pretty topical because they've just brought out a new one. I think was it November they brought out the 2021 version. So yep, you've guessed it, it's a Miss Dior. So this is the Miss Dior 2012 version. So if you don't know the history of Miss Dior, then where have you been? So Miss Dior was originally formulated in 1947, and that old version does still exist. You can still get it if you go to a perfume counter and ask. Then I think in 2005 they brought out a modern version. They called it Miss Dior Cherie, and that is the one that people loved. That is the one with the popcorn note and the strawberry, and that's the one that people really lamented the loss of. This is what replaced Miss Dior Cherie in 2012. And I feel like with Miss Dior perfumes, people always want the one that's just been discontinued. So more recently, they brought out the 2017 version, which is supposed to be more citrusy and more sweet. And then they also brought out the 2021, which seems to be an entirely different perfume. I only have the 2012 version, and I'm really pleased that I do have this one, because I think a lot of people are saying that this is the best Miss Dior. How do you tell which version of this perfume you have? Well, the Miss Dior 2012 and the Miss Dior 2017 are basically lookalikes. I don't think you can really tell. What you need to look at is, I think, the batch code, and you find the batch code on the back, and it's kind of ingrained in the glass just here. You can't really see it, so I'm not going to labour the point, but that is how you are going to be able to date your bottle. So what is so special about this one? Well, this is a beautiful kind of rose patchouli chypre fragrance, and it is basically sort of said to be the point at which Miss Dior became most like Coco Mademoiselle. So if you really love Chanel Coco Mademoiselle, 2012 version of Miss Dior might be one that you would really love too. I think the beauty of this fragrance is that it's quite simple. It's just a really kind of citrusy opening and then a rose patchouli fragrance. There's nothing really that complicated about it, but it's just sort of elegant. I used to think this was boring, basically, and I can kind of see why I thought that, because to how I used to be, this really wasn't me, and I always felt like I was pretending to be someone else when I was wearing this. But now I feel like this kind of fits me. I feel like I can be elegant at times. It takes a lot of effort, but I can do it. So would I suggest that you buy this one if you see it around? I think you definitely have to be sure of what you're buying if you do choose to buy this, because of those bottles being completely identical. And I would also say that this is going for a lot of money now. So a bottle of this, I think I see regularly going for over £100 now on eBay, and they are super, super rare. So also with Dior fragrances, there are a lot of fakes out there, and people are definitely for sure faking the Miss Dior Cheries. So I'm sure it won't take them long to fake this one too. So that's Dior's Miss Dior 2012. Definitely a unicorn now. The final fragrance is one that probably most people will still have in their collections. If you love this one, then you've probably still got quite a big bottle of it, because it does last for ages, and really it's pretty nuclear, so you don't need many sprays. And it was really super popular, and it really quietly disappeared, like every scent in this video. The discontinuations are sudden and brutal, and you just don't know when they will be. So the one that caught a lot of people out was Marc Jacobs Decadence. It was everywhere, wasn't it? It was in every single fragrance shop, and now where can you find it? Maybe some odd site on the internet. So this is becoming a unicorn fragrance, and I feel like there's a lot of people being very upset by this discontinuation. And I would say that if you haven't tried this one, but you've tried other Marc Jacobs scents, this is nothing like other Marc Jacobs scents. This is the one that sticks out like a sore thumb. This is the one that is really, really different. So this is a really heavy, really quite green smelling, wet kind of fragrance. And the main note in this is plum. So when you first spray this, you get a green plum. And then as it dries down, it becomes sweeter and more like a sugared plum. And there's also rose and saffron in this fragrance. And I feel like you get the rose and saffron towards the end of the fragrance. And that gives you a bit of a Middle Eastern style twang to this fragrance, along with the vetiver, which adds a bit of woodiness. I used to really lust after this fragrance. I remember, you know, I'd go into fragrance shops and I'd always be smelling this one. This would be the one that I would go and spray. I definitely had some kind of obsession with this fragrance, and I was really pleased that I was bought a bottle of this for Christmas a couple of years ago, and I I kind of almost forgotten about it basically. I'd sort of ruled this off my list, and then I got it for Christmas. I was so pleased, and it rekindled my love for it. But I would say that this one, I don't wear it that often, and I do have this huge bottle of it. So I feel like, you know, I'm very lucky because a lot of people are looking for this one now. I feel like prices for this will really go up because Marc Jacobs is a brand that is super popular, and super popular brands do inspire that kind of price rise, don't they, when they discontinue fragrances. So would I suggest you go out and hunt for this one? I do think it's a really nice fragrance, and I do feel like it stands outside of the box from Marc Jacobs' other fragrances, and I do feel like it's the best of the bunch. But I know that my opinion is not other people's opinions. I know that there's a real dichotomy, there's a real split between people who think this is the best thing that Marc Jacobs has ever done, and other people who feel like, wow, this is nothing like Marc Jacobs fragrances, why does anyone like this? So I think it depends which side of the coin you fall on. But yeah, this is definitely not a girly fragrance. This is not a sweet, innocent fragrance. This is definitely a more of a femme fatale fragrance. This is definitely a more of an evening fragrance, whereas I wouldn't say that really generally of any other Marc Jacobs fragrance. It really stood out for me. And yeah, I'm really pleased to have this much. So that's a Marc Jacobs Decadence. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know what your unicorn fragrances are. Which ones are you after as well? Which ones of the discontinued ones do you feel like you missed out on? And which ones do you think are going to be the unicorns of the future? Do you feel like Eau Croisière 2020 is going to be unicorn of the future? Or do you feel like investing in a massive bottle of Miss Dior 2021 because you think that's going to be a future unicorn? Please let me know down below, and also please consider subscribing if you haven't done already, and please like this video if you have liked this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!